Young Stunner himself wears a goat head figure, kind of like a Baphomet on his chain. His chain is a
Jeez, man.
chain of a Baphomet
He's a
figure
goat.
on it with
Oh, he
that goat
inspires to
head
be a
and
goat.
everything. And so, quite an interesting one that a person singing about Imitandazo is a person who has a goat head figure on him.
Awa.
Okay, now
Like, subscribe, share the video. This is Alokwan Reacts. We'll be checking out the video that breaks down how Young Stunna and the gang is part of the cult. So yeah.
Young Stunner recently had a song, Imitandazo, and this particular song comes before me because one of you guys sent me a version of it that was being sung in church. And said, Ricky, did you see they're singing Young Stunner's song, Imitandazo? So I didn't even know the song. So I had to listen to the song online. And then I was like, oh, you know, like sometimes you hear songs playing outside. And so I was like, oh, that's the song that I heard on thingy. Sounds very entertaining for a song. But when you watch the music video, you then have questions about it. You have questions about the motives or the goal that is being spoken about.
And it's always good to react to such videos because you end up being exposed to izinto bongazicabanganga or things that you're not paying attention to on the video. So hopefully he will break down the video, and I just want to hear his point of view because if I know this guy, he is against fake Christian people or believers or followers or leaders, and he is all about exposing such. So I believe the reason why he chose this specific song was to expose maybe Young Stunner and the gang because of it says it's a cult, Imitandazo by Young Stunner, and he's speaking it in a biblical sense. It says secret church, which is people worshiping a secret God, mighty secret church. Because of yonke into ezakala in that church is in secret, therefore it might be that these people are also worshiping a God in secret. So it'll be nice to
or the God being spoken about in the song. Imithandazo iyakuphi. And so if you go back to the cult message of Freemasonry, they speak about a multiple God, known as the mystery religions. The mystery religion subject comes in from Masonry. We know it from the Bible, of course, we know it from Revelations, but Freemasonry then takes on that and then has this different religions in the same hub. You guys would remember when the entire building that got built in Dubai, housing three major Abrahamic religions in their thingy, the Christian faith, the Judaism, and Islam. I spoke about this particular thing, the mixture of gods. Now, in this particular
But how is it a mixture of gods? Because of at the end of the day, we all pray to one God. I mean, not unless Naye he believes that Jesus is God. If that's the case, then yeah, it's a mixture of gods. But he's well studied and well informed to know that Jesus is not God. And he's well studied and well informed to know Guti, we all believe in one God. We just don't, not we, but they just don't believe Guti, the only way to God is through Jesus. They believe Guti Nabo, they have their own way through to God. But at the end of the day, we all go to the same God. Into esihluke kuyo, it's the people that we use to connect to our God. That's where it differs, and that's why we have so many religions. But yeah,
the Judaism and Islam, I spoke about this particular thing, the mixture of gods.
And wait. Also, Islam. In Islam, because of Islam, it's Muslims. In Muslims alone, the Quran has a session or a chapter speaking about Jesus and how Muhammad believed that Jesus was a messenger of God. But Muhammad did not believe that Jesus is the only messenger. Ivangeli liyahamba at the end of the day, whether you there or not. So ivangeli aliphelelanga ngoJesu. It had to move, it had to go, it had to spread. But ele Christianity, when Jesus died, then evangeli labo liphelela lapho. Then instead of them searching for other messengers, they then now say ukuthi Jesus was God, which is where abantu bashaya
Now,
lapho.
in this particular topic, I want to show you, in that video we spoke about them removing. On this video, I want to now, since now they've removed, who is this God then that they are worshiping? In this title or in this video, that's what I want to show.
Okay.
The unknown God. Now, this song elaborates it how. In the song, Imitandazo with Kabza, the Small, and Young STUNNA, and many other artists, there's a moment where, you know, the camera pans, I don't know if it was camera error, you can see kind of like a figure standing on the side. It was just kind of like quite an interesting image, you know, looked kind of like a bit, you know, dodgy man type of stuff. It looked, you know, here's this angelic being, and then you have this being on the side of this thing that just looks very ominous. It looks very kind of like diabolic, like what was going on, but you know, it might just be a person, one of the crew's members and stuff like that. But I found quite interesting that thing that just looked kind of like.
Uti, this thing here, this personal thing here, it looks diabolic. It looks evil, basically. That's what he's saying. Dude.
A bit, you know, dodgy man type of stuff. It looked, you know, here's this angelic being, and then you have this being on the side of this thing that just looks very ominous. It looks very kind of like diabolic, like what was going on, but you know, it might just be a person, one of the crew's members and stuff like that. But I found quite interesting that that image actually made it in. Now,
also, even if that image made it to the cut, I mean, if you look at this picture alone, lo muntu lo usemanzini, yabo, don't just check one thing, bafethu, just check everything. This person usemanzini, and emanzini ahambayo. Now, in South Africa, I won't talk about other African cultures or beliefs or whatever, but in South Africa, basically, when umuntu omnyama ahlambuluka, or when umuntu omnyama agezwa, they use amanzi agelezayo. They don't just use still waters. So that thing evela laphaya, this thing here that he says it looks diabolical, lo muntu lo wenza umsebenzi wesintu because of the water. Forget that he's wearing white, but at the end of the day, umuntu ohlambula ogezayo, it's a cleansing ceremony, if I might put it like that. Now that thing there can symbolize abantu abakubo abangasekho, that are looking down on him, as a way of saying ukuthi we there for you, and we are protecting you, and we are guiding you, and sikhona. That thing might symbolize that, and there's nothing harmful, or there's nothing bad, or there's nothing evil about that. So ezinye izinto, I think, don't just focus on one thing, also check the entire image. Amanzi agelezayo, lo muntu usehlathini. So it could be that, or it could be ukuthi lo muntu loyana, he's the person ohlambulula uYoung STUNNA. Because it doesn't make sense ukuthi ube semanzini uyi-one. Mawusemanzini, there should be someone who will be able to cleanse you. It's like being baptized. You can't go to an open field and go to a dam or swimming pool or whatever and then baptize yourself. Kumele kube nomuntu who will guide you through the baptism. So this is just it.
Here's this angelic being, and then you have this being on the side of this thing that just looks very ominous. It looks very kind of like diabolic, like what was going on, but you know, it might just be a person, one of the crew's members and stuff like that. But I found quite interesting that that image actually made it into the cut. Now, Young STUNNA himself wears a goat head figure kind of like a bafflement on his chain. His chain is a chain of a bafflement
He's a
figure
goat.
on it with
Oh,
that
he
goat
inspires
head
to be a
and everything.
goat.
And so, quite an interesting one that a person singing about imithandazo is a person who has a goat head figure on him. Okay. Now he's also an ispandla holder, you know, like the whole nine.
Okay, the one of a goat head figure around him that I won't entertain because of if you're South African, then you know Uyang STUNNA. You know good he's the greatest, not of all time because of he's still new, but there's no song Uyang STUNNA touches and it doesn't turn into gold. There is no song. He's goated like that. He's a goat of Amapiano. He's a goat of his peers. So if he's not a goat, then he inspires to be a goat. He's moving the right way. He's speaking the right things. He's featured on the right songs. He's working with the right people. Then he's on his come up to be a goat. He's a goat.
Some people might just say, no, it's just culture. But there is a lot of things that come with that entire spandla. Now, they go on to sing in church in the music video. When they go to sing in the church, he replaces his clothes of ordinary life to those of divinity, white clothes. So he's prayed for, they holding the Bible while they do this, and then they remove a thingy, and then he dresses himself. Now, what I found quite interesting is that the people that are giving him the clothes, one dress black, one dress white. I thought that was quite an interesting one, and thinking about the subject matter of the yin and the yang. But that might have not been the intention, okay?
I'm sure
so
it's not.
I just thought that was interesting. That
I'm sure it's not the
black
intention.
and white, yin and the yang. And then we are talking about that figure core on the side. But anyways, not the subject matter. The matter is the song. So the song is speaking about this aspect of God hearing our prayers. And so he's so our prayers are going up and he saves. But not even once do you hear who is this one who saves in the video. And so I thought, wow, interesting. That there is someone that's...
It says, Izwa imithandazo yethu. Nkosi, like God, Nkosi. Not unless bafethu nina you have another name of God, but Unkosi is God. That's the name that we know. That's the name that is there in the Bible. Even Jesus himself never gave God a name. He referred to as my Father. Now, a question ayibuzayo is that what if Jesus, when he said my Father, he was actually referring to his forefathers? Come on, dude. Come on. Nkosi, izwa imithandazo yethu. Nkosi, God. God. That's the same God that created us all. We all bafethu come from one God. Into esihluke ngayo is how we connect to that God. Some people do it ancestral things just to connect to God. Abanye they do Christian things. Abanye they do Muslim things. Abanye they do Buddhism things to connect to one God. Not necessarily good. They're creating their own God.
Not even once do you hear who is this one who saves in the video. And so I thought, wow, interesting that there is someone that's saving clearly in the song, but we don't find out who is this one who is saving. And then the person who's singing this wears a Baphomet goat head, which is kind of sus. It's kind of questionable and very weird. But then Kabza the Small burns in purple.
Okay, before he gets there, so the lyrics eating, yizwa imithandazo yabantwana bakho, yehlisa umoya wakho wempumelelo. Yizwa imithandazo yabantwana bakho, Nkosi, there's Nkosi there, then it says Sikelela. Then Komelela, yeah, but there's Nkosi there, which is God. So that's the God they're referring to, which is our God, which is one God, which is your God.
Goat head, which is kind of sus. It's kind of questionable and very weird. But then Kabza the Small burns in purple in there. And then I thought that was quite an interesting one, that there's a mixture of religion And this African spirituality, while we are speaking about forgiveness at one point of the song, and then he hears our prayers. Who?
Nkosi God.
Because he isn't spoken of. There isn't a name tagged along this particular he that saves.
Nkosi.
But if you go into the book of
Dude.
Acts chapter number 17, verse number 23, it is very clear.
And also in the Mpepo, that's what I'm talking about, Uguti. We all have different ways of connecting to the God. I'm a Christian, they connect to God through Jesus. Muslims connect to God through Muhammad. And then African people, most of us, we connect to God through izinto zempepho because of we've been taught ukuthi impepho it does this and this and this and that. So masifuna ukukhuluma with uNkulunkulu wethu siconnecta naye through abantu abakithi abangasekho, and the only way of getting those people's attention if ngayibeka kanjalo is through impepho. So lapho yeah, but okusalayo we just pray to one God.
Along this particular he that saves. But if you go into the book of Acts chapter number 17, verse number 23, it is very clear. Paul walked into a temple and he found an inscription written to the unknown God. The idea of people worshiping an unknown God is not new. This is what we are hearing. That's why you have your celebrities speak about God, but then they go and completely dismiss the Bible. It's because they are worshiping an unknown God.
The Bible itself is.
And this particular idea of worshiping an unknown God, if you go to John, the interaction with Jesus and the Samaritan woman, you will remember that the Samaritan woman seems to have a belief system where they worship at the heights, they worship at the mountains. You know, quite an interesting one. They are worshiping at the water. But anyways, so they worship at the heights, and she says, you know, our fathers worship in the mountain, and you Jews say that it is in Jerusalem we ought to worship. And Jesus says, neither of you are in the right. God seeks them that worship him in truth and in spirit. And so it's not in this we are thankful to God stuff where you're doing it by lip service. It is them that worship him in truth and in spirit. And we explained that yesterday on the live stream. Worshiping God in truth and in spirit means one who is saved, born again.
And you don't know those.
So there isn't a.
You can speak about being saved, born again. You don't know those facts about Stan. You don't have evidence that he's not born again. As much as I can analyze the video, yeah, I can say that you're wearing black. You're wearing black and you're speaking of God. It also goes back to your issue of the yin and the yang. You're speaking of light, but you're wearing black. Then now I should just tell myself, you're not saved? Just because of how I analyze this video. Dude.
Worship that can be offered outside of the born-again experience. The verse then goes on to say, you worship what you know not. So that part there shows you there is such a thing as people that are worshiping an unknown God. They worship gods of fortresses. They worship gods of foreign origins. They worship gods.
It's you know, when you watch Vikings, they don't speak of God. They speak of gods. So people who worship, it's not an unknown God to them. It's unknown to us. But when they know what they are, they know what they're saying, and they know what they believe on. If Vikings, they'll speak of their gods, and when you're watching it and listening to it, to me it's an unknown God because of Nyazbuz Gutuban, you know. But when if you ask them, who are these gods? They'll tell you, this, and this, they are our gods. And in most of them, they count their ancestors. So if you worship an unknown God, then it has to be gods, because of there's only one true God. Laba abanye bakho bahlangene bayenziwe, it's gods. But at the end of it all, those gods that the people from Vikings worship to, they believe those people send a message yabo to that one God, which is the God that we come from. So, Nati in Christianity, according to other people, we worship an unknown God because most of us believe that Jesus is God. And the Bible, multiple times, it says Jesus is not God. Even Jesus himself, he tells people multiple times that he can do nothing without the Father who has sent him. He tells people multiple times that he is a messenger of God. So Nati, we are worshiping an unknown God. We just have this mentality yokuthi at least in our God is Jesus. That's not the case because of Jesus himself is not God. He's a messenger of God. Even if you can tell him to show me your God, he won't show you anything. But we believe that there is God.
Of distant lands. By distant lands, we mean gods that they themselves cannot explain. And so this is what I wanted to tackle here. On the previous episode, we spoke about them removing God. But I wanted to show that there are people that are worshiping a God that they don't know. This is where also in churches you find the God of my father. He has no name.
But that's what Jesus...
He's the God of my father, but he has no name. Why?
That mfethu, even Jesus never gave God a name. Khona la babuza khona ukuthi mfethu sesivaye nayo isikhathi esingaka awusibonise lo nkulunkulu bani. Sifuna ukumbona. He didn't give them an image, he didn't give them a name. He just said to them ukuthi bafethu sengivaye nani isikhathi eside kanje, still namanje aningazi. And aningazi in a sense ukuthi aningithembi na, awungazi mfethu. If awungazi kusho ukuthi awungithembi. Ngithembe because of lento engikutshela yona ikhona. That's what he was saying. Bafethu ngiphushe nani isikhathi eside kanje. Till size sifike kule journey le nifuna ukungitshela ukuthi aningithembi. uNkulunkulu khona. He never gave them a name. He never gave them an image. He just told them ukuthi believe in what I say. When other people do that, the same Christian people have a problem. Aye, bafethu.
No, because you then say Jesus. No, but it ends there at God of so and so, God of so and so. You never state the name because it is an unknown God. That is mystery religion of the Freemason. That's the mystery religion of the Illuminati. Worshipping an unknown God.
If you know the name of God, please comment sections. Give us the name of God. And don't say Jesus, because of Jesus, in multiple times, he says that he is the messenger of God. He says that he is the Son of God. He says that there is nothing he can do without the help of God. He even said his Father, for crying out loud. Then abanye abantu nabathi God of my father, there's a problem. It's like me saying ukuthi God of Jesus. If you find me saying God of my father a problem for you, then you should find a problem when I say God of Jesus. Because of no Jesus, it's just Jesus is human. But on the comment sections, please just give me a name of God. Don't say Jesus. Just give me don't say uNkulunkulu because of that's a direct translation. Give me a name. Who's your God?
This is why I loved Asumpumi when she came out in house music, and some of the most popular songs that were by that period, Asumpumi songs, were very Christian.
Like what?
Her songs were direct. I call you Somandla. Her songs were very clear.
Izwa imithandazo yethu yehlisa umoya wakho wempumelelo. Izwa imithandazo yethu Nkosi. We decide to call him God. Nkosi. We decide to call him God. Nkosi. Sikelela. Nkosi sikelela, which is to bless. Now we can't say ukuthi Nkosi bless if you're not a God of blessings. He's a God of blessings. The Bible says so. We can't say Nkosi yizwa imithandazo yethu if he's not a God who answers prayers. The Bible says so. We can't say yehlisa umoya wakho wempumelelo if he's not a God of us succeeding. He's the God who wants us to succeed. The Bible says so. So what else do you want? What else do you...
Yahweh. She had a song called Yahweh, Very popular. It's straightforward. It tells you who it's talking about. It's not an unknown God. It's not a God that can't be spoken about, a God that we just hear, he does this, he does this. Who is he? Which one are you talking about? Because there is such a thing as the unknown God. And it's a very strange one, but it's not new. If you read Acts chapter number 17 there, it becomes very clear. This is common practice with humankind. To worship a God that is unknown. A God that is distant from the one that we know. This is what's happening right now. This particular God, like I stated, they want to do this, okay? Now, by they, I don't mean individuals, like people are sitting there planning. No, the spirits, the beings that are trying to move for this movement of thinking, their intention is to create a secret church. And that secret church replaced the main church. That's why we are talking about it here. That's why this series is very important. So I wanted to talk about it here. It's quite an interesting one. Why do you think they present burning of incense and then talk about the one who saves? Where is there salvation in our ancestral practices? There's no salvation. There is no salvation in our ancestral practices. So which one are they talking about when they say he washes away our sin? And then they're in church bowing down, replacing clothes and all those kind of things. Which one is that? That is the unknown God. They can talk about boldly, but they will never fully acknowledge who he is, because that's the mystery religion. That's the goal of the Antichrist, to have us speak of a God that is without name. The Bible says the name of the Lord is a tower. It's the name that is the tower, to whom the righteous run to. Now here, which one are you going to? No, whichever one you are worshiping. Because he's God, it's just God. Just that's why they like to say, Christians like to claim God for themselves. No, we are not claiming God. We are saying that God has given himself a name. And so if you are speaking about the God we know, this is his name. Why do they do that? Now you understand where I was coming at.
But I have to stop it. I know it says Opela, but I have to stop it here because this guy, I think he's all over the place. What I find very, like, what I find to be what I'm glad about, to go to Ukabza never hid or never hid it or never made it a secret into yakhe iphandla, then it should tell you ukuthi Ukabza, how does he connect with uNkulunkulu wakhe, which is the God that we come from. What I also happy about ukuthi no young STUNNA akaze wayifihla into yeyiphandla, which also tells you ukuthi how does young STUNNA connect with uNkulunkulu. What I also find, or what I'm happy about, ukuthi the song owner, ngikhohlwe ukuthi ubani lo mfana lo, he never hid uNkulunkulu wakhe, because of even Naguma Awards he did say, even if you can check it back on that, he grew up in church. So through Jesus, that's how he connects to uNkulunkulu wakhe. Now when these people come together, this guy connects with uNkulunkulu through Jesus. That's why you'll see a church in this video, because of he speaking about uNkulunkulu wakhe and this middle person, which is Jesus. And a church, it symbolizes that. Then when you see Ukabza ushisa, that's how Ukabza connects to uNkulunkulu, which is through abantu bakubo abangasekho. That's why you will see that in the video. Now, you can't bring two people from two different worlds that serve the same God and not expect them to have differences in connecting to that God. You can't do that. Into engijabulisayo ukuthi bahlangene and they gave us a beautiful song. A beautiful song. And igama lakaNkulunkulu likhona because of God is God. Why must we give God a name? Why must we give God a name? Because of if you give God a name, then you are giving God an image. And if you give God an image, then you are now worshiping or praying to a false God, because of it even says on the Bible, if you give God a name, then you're giving God an image. What does the Bible say about worshiping a God that has an image. What does the Bible say? If ngizothi mina Thixo Somandla, then I give it an image because of Somandla is a verb. And once a thing is attached to a verb, then there should be an image that will say, this is Usomandla. If I say that, if I say uThixo wokhokho bethu, then I'm giving God an image because of mele ngibonakalise okhokho ukuthi naba okhokho bethu. No, not even uThixo okhokho bethu, because of lapho I'll have an image yabokhokho, but I won't have an image yakaNkulunkulu. Because of I'll know abokhokho, but uNkulunkulu I won't know. But if I say ukuthi uThixo Somandla, if I say Jesus our God, then there's an image that will play in your mind. So ezinye izinto bafethu I think that's one of the reasons why I also do such videos, because abanye abantu they misquote izinto or they misinterpret izinto on purpose for exposure. And I don't want to believe what he was doing this for exposure, because of he's a huge public figure, but he just used a wrong video to probably explain what he wanted to put out there. I think young STUNNA, it's not on his favors. He should have tried some other video. He should have tried Highway to Hell by AC/DC. Maybe it would have gotten the point across. But on this video with these lyrics, then I bafethu. Nah. Let me just go through the lyrics once more, and then you will decide if Lana they are talking of an unknown God, or they are talking of uNkulunkulu lo wena or believer kuyo. So a verse by Young STUNNA, the one he talks about, he said, kukhalwa esikanandi sililo, liyokhala nini ke icilongo. Icilongo malikhala, we believe that everything will be okay. Uzosixolela zonke lezo, liyokhala nini icilongo, so that you can forgive us for all our sins, ngoba silala kunzima, kunjani ngomso. Moya oyingcwele mawehle. Bafethu, inyembezi zingabi namahla emihleni, nosathane athukuthele ajike endleleni. Nosathane athukuthele ajike endleleni. Sicela injabulo engapheli, noma ihlukene imindeni, uthando lwakho lusanele. What more do you want? What more do you want? Sicela injabulo engapheli, noma ihlukene imindeni, uthando lwakho lusanele. Izwa imithandazo yethu. But it's okay, man. We out.